All right, so we've already gone over the rerun banners and the release of Linnea in version 6.5, and now we're going to be going over the Fontaine Chronicled Wish. So this is the character lineup for the Chronicled Wish. We're not going to be going over weapons, we're just going over characters and whether or not, honestly, you should be pulling for them. First, we have Emily, then we have Navia, Chlorine, Sigewinne, and Lenny. And going over from left to right, we'll go ahead and just rank them in terms of value and where they place in terms of also competition for how they will do, right? So Emily obviously is going to be in a burning team, a Burgeon team, and ideally you would want Kinich with her and some off-field pyro character. Durin, Mavuika, would be probably the two most likely candidates. Durin more so would probably be slightly better than Mavuika, but you know, it's honestly, I think, kind of a toss-up in terms of just the character alone, not vertical investment and any of that stuff. But outside of that Burgeon team, Emily just really isn't that great. She doesn't do a whole lot outside of that one specific team, because that is what she is primarily used for, as a supporting character to further boost the damage being done. Next, moving over to Navia. Now, Navia, I think, is actually probably the best bet out of all of these characters when it comes to the Chronicled Wish. And the reasoning for that is that, A, she's a Geo DPS character. How many of those do we really have in the game? Not a whole lot. Now, the most recent competitor would be Zabai, but she just had her initial release banner, so it's going to be a while before she comes back out. And if you want to play the Lunar Crystallized team, then you can get Linnea and then run her along Navia to have that capability to play the Lunar Crystallized team. Or if you already have Navia because you liked her initially when she came out in Fontaine and you want to further enhance her capabilities, then Linnea is just perfect for her. I just think that Navia is the better option when it comes to DPS capabilities out of all of these characters and functionality for current team setups. Chlorine is an interesting option, and the reasoning why she's interesting is because of the fact that I do think that, you know, Superconduct will be somewhat relevant when we get to Snezhnaya or the release of Sandrone, and Chlorine can have some capabilities when it comes to that. Also with Overload with a Durin sub DPS support, I think Chlorine is pretty good. However, the downside with Chlorine, and also Lunar Charge, but the downside with Chlorine is that she faces a lot of competition when it comes to Electro capabilities. Jumping back in time, obviously we have Raiden Shogun, while now not on the same par level as Chlorine at this current point. They both fall off significantly when we get to the likes of Inefa and Flynn's for a Lunar Charge team, or just Lunar, or just Electro Charge just in general. But I do think Chlorine has actually been somewhat relegated to, you know, the benched position when it comes to Electro DPS characters and what Electro is now capable of doing when it comes to Lunar Charged. So I just think in terms of trying to boost an account, someone probably who doesn't have an Electro character, just wait, right? Just wait for whenever Columbina or Inefa, preferably together, but Inefa, when Inefa comes back, I think that would probably be a better long-term investment potential for an account. Now, moving over to Sigewinne. Sigewinne, I think, is probably along the same wavelength when it comes to Chlorine. Sigewinne is pretty decent. She doesn't have a whole lot of competition when it comes to off-field hydro. Well, no, actually she does. We got Yelan as an option. We also have, where are you? Columbina as an option. We also have Farina as an option. We have Aino now as an option. And that's just characters off the top of my head for recency, as well as what they are capable of doing and providing for a team composition. So actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I do think Sigewinne actually falls down. Let me put Emily in your rightful place in the gutter. But in terms of what teams are going to be fully capable of doing when it comes to off-field hydro application, as well as capabilities for what they do for the given team that they are supposed to beat in, I do think Sichuan though has some staying power in terms for the lunar teams if you need a hydro applicator. If you don't have any of the aforementioned characters or any other semi-decent off-field hydro applicator, I do think Sichuan could be worth some pulls, but it's not going to save an account, right? It will help keep the account afloat, it just won't save it. And Lenny, I do think, is just not that great anymore. He has so much competition with Pyro, it's crazy. You have Klee with her buffs because of Hexerai. She is just phenomenal now. You have obviously Mavwika, who's the best Pyro DPS character in the game. And then you also have Durin, who is arguably the best off-field Pyro supporting character in the game. I just think Lenny has fallen off significantly. Oh, and you have Arlecchino. You have Father right here. Like, it's crazy how much he's fallen in terms of the Pyro capabilities. But it's just, you know, it is what it is when it comes to power and how characters are sold, essentially. But I do think this is probably your best bet when it comes to options that can help an account or save an account from the Chronicled Wish. Now, this is not talking about vertical investment. We're just talking about needing to get the character for completing a team or starting a team. I do think this is where all of this is going to fall in place.